The centuries depart, writ fast on history's page. It matters little for a lover's heart what the time or age. With science everywhere, things go with more expedience. But thank the Lord for a love affair. The formula is still the same, and so are the ingredients. Modern days may change our ways, knights go no more a-riding, dragons are in hiding, but love is still love. Ages move and things improve, bewitching isn't done now, kings don't have much fun now, but love is still love. A man amiss, that old spell weaves on, a hug, a kiss, and then it's the same since Eve put leaves on. Years may fly and time goes by, fair damsels don't play lutes now, blacksmiths don't make suits now, but love, but love is still love.
Love is still love, and theater is still theater here on Beyond the Green Room. Welcome. That lovely rendition of a Harold Rome tune that even the obscure fans of obscure musical theater may not remember. It's from a 1948 flop musical by Harold Rome that closed out of town in Philadelphia called That's the Ticket. And that charming recording is one of my guests today on Beyond the Green Room. So we have a couple who are, one is a prolific composer and musician, and the other one is a singer, actress, and they're joining us from their kitchen, as far as I can tell today. Please welcome Neil Berg and Rita Harvey.
Hey, David, how are you?
David?
I'm good. Did I shock you with that recording, Rita?
Shocked. Oh, you reached way back in the archives there. I was like, that's me, but oh my gosh, I think that's the ticket. I mean, wow.
It was funny because I was watching your face and it looked like it took a moment to register, and then, oh my God. Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, I thought Neil might have recognized it before you did, but yeah, well, it's lovely, and we'll talk about that soon. I want to bring on our third guest, who is joining us from how shall I say it? Sunny, warm, snowy Arkansas today. She's a beautiful lady that I've worked with who has so many Broadway credits. Amazing Grace, Scandalous, Scarlet Pimpernel, Passion, City of Angels, it goes on and on. But we're going to talk to her. I think that you and Neil work together too. I just found that out a little while ago. We're going to surprise you with that news. Please welcome Elizabeth Ward Land. Hello, darling.
Where did I put my hand so you can see hi?
Yes. Looking very glamorous. Bringing up the curve for all of Arkansas today, I think.
Oh, I know. I'm in Arkansas. I know. I'm helping my mother out here. She's had a rough last week, and during the once in a lifetime snowstorm, she was needing emergency eye surgery. So here I am in my sister's old bedroom.
Well, we've seen people join us from their boudoirs and their kitchens, and I get a view into people's homes every week. It's just kind of exciting, you know. So
I do remember Neil and Rita very well. I always assume that no one will ever remember me, but I remember everyone. I think we did something else though. I know we did The Man Who Would Be King, which I was in love with that piece, and I thought about it many times. But and I recorded a song of hers, of the Ayas, really, really low,
Yes.
for you.
Yeah.
And I had worked with DJ a couple of times, 4 or 5 times, so I love DJ. But Rita, you and I also did a piece called Casanova, didn't we? Did you do a piece that Arthur Masella directed? Were you in that one? Okay.
No, that's okay.
Who wrote that one, Liz?
Mike Reed and Sarah Schlesinger.
Oh
who
my
I had
God.
done their Ballad of Little Joe. Yeah.
Because there were at least 2 other Casanova musicals that I was involved with, and I thought my memory was going, but and it could very well be.
It's a great story. I mean, who wouldn't want to musicalize it? So yeah, this one was Brent Baird and me and Sierra Bogus, and it doesn't matter. But I remember you both very well. So hello.
Well, all I can tell you is that, of course, I not only remember you, I revere you. You were phenomenal, fantastic. In the little short reading we did, and coming in and doing that demo. So what a pleasure to see you again.
Nice to see you guys too. Are you I don't remember, are you in Westchester?
Close. We're in Rockland County in Nyack.
Nyack. Oh boy, I love Nyack.
We have your album because you gave it to us soon after that reading, and I remember listening to it and thinking it was really wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so now
Well,
we're friends.
I'm so happy you guys know each other, and we don't
When
have to.
David, you and I were together, oh my God, it was like one of my first out of town regional theaters. Players
Really?
Theater Columbus.
See, and this is where I always ask to bring the conversation up, how we all met and how we each met, and it's not always the same answer. And what's funny is that you guys you already took the question and ran with it.
Oh, okay.
But Liz, so we met doing cabaret. Yes, you were
At Players Theater of Columbus in that beautiful space. And
Yes,
I think it closed the next year and we shut it down.
Yeah, no, I shut it down. I was there doing Phantom when the theater went belly up.
That's right. I am remembering this. You went back another year, and yes, it was your fault.
Yeah, I used to say that it was my fault because I closed a lot of theaters. I closed the Fantastics after 43 years. You know. But yes, that was it. I went back to do Maury Eston's Phantom, and we didn't even get into tech before the theater closed. But our production of Cabaret was quite memorable. You were a terrific.
It was good. It was really good. Matt Bennett.
Yes,
and Mark Baker.
Mark Baker, yes, who is unfortunately no longer with us.
I'm remembering now that he passed away. I thank you for reminding me. Yeah. I stayed on to do Pumpkins and Dinettes there right after that. So I was in Columbus, Ohio for 4 months, and I was just ready to kill myself by the end. But I do remember being really enjoying it. I mean, that was kind of my first, as I said, time I went out and I was the star of the show, and in a regional theater, and you learn a lot by doing those. The Broadway ones are great, but the ones where you really have to step up and be the leader and wear the bad costumes and the bad wigs.
Yeah, well, that's been my career. So you're talking about that's been my bread and butter. But I always say I don't get to play these roles necessarily on Broadway, but I get to do them in the regions. And
I never get them in Broadway. Yeah, my favorite stuff I've ever done is in the hinterlands. Wouldn't change it for a second. It's been great.
Well, so Neil, how did we first meet?
Oh my gosh. I think I remember this pretty darn well, right? It must have been, when I was first starting to, it was the very first production I did of The Prince and the Pauper. And you were playing the lead, and you came in and played Miles Hendon. Am I right? You played the lead.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And
it was that was the start of, I had done some, off Broadway. I did some other things, but that really was a pretty big point in my young career at the time. I was just getting my feet, I would say, being a little more than wet, and we cast you, and it was and I think we did this. It was at the Queen's Theater in the Park.
Yes, absolutely.
We used that theater to do the presentation. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a bizarre turn of events, only because I had been up at the O'Neill the prior summer doing a brand new version of Prince and the Pauper that
That's
Judd
right.
Walden wrote.
The-
And Judd had called me and said, you know, there's a part that's just perfect for you in this. And I literally left an off-Broadway play. I got up there in the middle of the night. I didn't even know where I was. And the next morning, we started rehearsing this wonderful piece. I fell in love with it and the role. And there were a million kids. And then within a few months, Ray Roderick, who directed your show, called and said, you know, there's a part that's great for you. And he said, do you know Prince and the Pauper? And I said, do I know Prince and the Pauper? And your show was equally beautiful and a totally different take on it. But the interesting thing is the kid that was playing the Prince in the one at the O'Neill was playing the Pauper in your production. Or maybe it was the other way around. But
it's all coming back. Yeah.
I was very confused because again, it was a room full of kids. And I believe we did it semi-staged with book in hand.
Yeah.
But Ray had me doing some fencing and which was kind of challenging with a book in your hand. But
yeah, it was wild because we had no idea that there was another Prince and the Pauper out there. I really didn't. And then it was like one of those things. Like remember when the Wild Party? There was like that. There was 2 wild parties, and it always seems that way. You think you have at least we knew we had a good idea because somebody else was doing it, and then of course we ended up. I guess the race is on. We didn't consider it that, but we were just like anybody else trying to get it produced, and we were very fortunate to get it.
You did it. You had a nice long run off Broadway. Yeah.
Yeah, at the Lambs Theater, and it went terrific, and we were just very thankful and grateful at the time for that, and thankful that we had somebody like you to really start it out for us. That was the very first one.
It was great to be a part of it. It really was. And I'm so happy that it was successful going on. And Rita, you were involved with that as well, but you didn't do that reading, did you? Or
Not that particular reading. We had just met. I think we were dating at that time. So I remember seeing you do it. But we were just starting to date and just starting to hang out. So, but I ended up years later when it got produced at the Lambs, I ended up playing Lady Edith.
Yes, I remember seeing it. I not only do because I have everything, obviously. I scared you with that recording. But there's a beautiful picture of you with Bob Evan on the liner notes, and of course it's a lovely performance. So, but we know each other another way too.
We have the same agent.
That's right.
So I see you at Christmas parties over here. So
that's right. We missed the Christmas party this year, but so we're having it now.
Our other way is that one of my very best friends is Amy Griffin, who you worked with. I saw you in that play at was it the
Centenary? Yes.
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 I saw you both in that.
That's nice to know. And Amy was also in my production of The Producers that I directed out at
Anita was another. Yeah.
And she was on this show a few weeks back. So I'm gonna tap all of my friends before.
Why not?
So one of the things that struck me when I was looking into both of your careers, ladies, is that you both have a show devoted to the music of Linda Ronstadt. Did you know that?
I did not.
I just saw recently you sent something out about it, right, Elizabeth?
Are you guys on my email? I wouldn't even know. Yes.
Yes.
Well, mine has been very recent in the last few years. Yeah. So I would have. Yeah.
Mine. When did I start mine? Has it been 4 years now? I think 4 years that I've been doing it. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Great
she's
minds.
vastly appealing at great minds. You have very good ideas.
Very good.
yeah, she just ended up being a good vocal fit for me, and mine kind of just was. I just was kind of bored with myself and like, okay, do something. And then I ended up, it snowballed into this thing, and I kept selling out the green room and the green room and the green, and then I ended up winning the Bistro Award last year for outstanding tribute show. So like it was this whole thing, and I had these bookings for last summer and this fall, and it all evaporated into the ether of COVID.
Well,
But I do love my Linda.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, her repertoire is vast. Any singer could sing anything of hers.
Exactly. Well, that's kind of why I started, because we have a production company. We do concerts all around, and Neil does several tribute shows himself. And I was thinking, well, what if I were to do a tribute show? Who would I do? And I sing lots of different vocal styles, as I'm sure you do. And do I do somebody classical? Do I do somebody pop? Do I do Barbara Cook or someone like that? Musical theater. And then I thought, oh my God, Linda does it all. And once I started researching her, she's an amazing person. And and the minute I started kind of mentioning I was thinking about it to people, everybody went, yes, please, when, where, I'll be there. So it had to be, she's just.
I felt the same way. There's something about her. She kind of has a sound. I also love to sing harmony. I'm never happier than when I'm inside a chord. My voice is inside a chord. So I had two of my best friends, greatest singers in New York, come and sing with me. So we did a lot of the trio stuff. We celebrated all her duets. She loved a partnership too. She really loved to sing harmony. She didn't care if she had the lead line. But yeah, so it was fun. I'm glad we share that too. It's my treasure.
Sing something together someday, since we love that. I love the harmony singing. Oh.
Well, you both have big talents and great taste, and so there's room for both of them. And I'm so glad that I was able to let you know that I knew both of you were doing it.
If we can ever get back to singing, if there'll ever be any live singing anymore. So.
We will. I have to remind myself, because I've been doing a lot of straight plays the last few years, and forgotten that you really have to keep your chops up when you do a musical. And every once in a while, when I do one, I go, oh boy, I should have been vocalizing these last few weeks. And so I've been really trying to do it at home, because I had two lined up before the pandemic hit, and a play as well. But I think it's going to come roaring back. We just have to get through these next few months and behave ourselves. Not to bring up the elephant in the room, but I really do think, even as I was saying a couple of weeks ago, even when I was getting my hair cut, the girl who was cutting my hair said, "Oh, I can't wait to go back to a Broadway show." And this is a girl who I wouldn't have pegged to have ever gone to a Broadway show. So I think we're poised for a big comeback. We got to think that way, right?
Yeah, anytime I go out for these long walks, I come home and Rita's always practicing keeping her voice. I always say the halls are alive with the sound of music here in the Berg household. So you got to keep your chops up. Good.
Well, we were talking a little bit about doing regional roles, and I know that one that you did very recently, Rita, was a dream role for leading ladies, and we're going to show a little clip of you doing that in a little while. Fun Home. So and Liz, the one that I wish I had seen, because I knew you were doing it, was Norma Desmond. Fairly.
I had a ball.
I bet you did.
That is one great part. That's one great part. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just great. It's just the show is so uneven, but her material is his masterpiece to me. And I even thought some of the scenes were really well written. The show is very uneven that way. But I just had a ball. And I first said no because I was too scared to do it. But then once I kind of got it in my voice, I was like, oh, this really does fit me. And he let me sing it like I wanted to. So and I loved all the costumes, and I loved that period. And, I was in heaven. Sometimes you just have to go away and just do something just because you want to do it. And it was great. It was great.
The regions are our gymnasium, and where we can
Mhm.
explore and do wonderful roles that we only dream about in other arenas. So that's really.
Well, I got to tell you, I was talking with somebody about this. Because for the past 15 to 20 years, I've had this show, this 100 Years of Broadway, where I bring out, stars, and we go around all the performing arts centers, and I'm very blessed. It's done very well. But I really learned something coming back to New York, because I as much, and I love New York and I love all our friends. There's nothing remotely negative to say, but sometimes if you get myopic about New York and you forget I mean, the regionals are Broadway to their communities and their worlds, and how vital and important it is. And and sometimes I'm not an actor. You guys are all actors. I'm not an actor per se, and sometimes I need to remind performers that the whole regional world is phenomenal. It's fantastic, and people would die to get those roles. And you guys are incredible, and never forget that it's you may not have the cachet of St. Broadway, but it is. It's all part of the same universe in our world, and I just can't say enough about regional theater.
I appreciate you saying that, because it's true. I'd say it's been my bread and butter, and you can create art anywhere. A couple of weeks ago, I was talking about something a director that I worked with many times used to say, and he would say, if not, and insert the city where we were working, then where? You can create, if you're not in Allentown, where? If not Columbus, Ohio, where? And
and also what a great experience, a great opportunity to bring these stories to people who might not get to see it otherwise. How often are they going to be able to afford to come all the way to New York, or to see Broadway or a tour? To get to do it in a smaller house is a beautiful opportunity to be that intimate with it,
and I think that we're going to see the regional theaters come back first for economic reasons, and and also we have to realize that Broadway over the last several decades has become such a big part of tourism in New York, and tourism is going to take a little longer to come back here. But when we do work in the regions, we're doing it in the city where the audience is from that town. So they do greatly appreciate us bringing our work to them. And we have to live in a hotel or a borrowed apartment sometime, but that's part of the fun too. It's really remarkable. I want to show that clip, but I have to ask Liz something. This is probably going to annoy the heck out of you, because of all the wonderful roles that you've done, and on Broadway and regionally. You have one credit that I can't imagine anybody else having on their resume, and it didn't involve you really performing at all. But you were. Do you know what I'm going for here? You were
my Barbara Streisand
yeah.
life. Yeah, it's a good story. It's good. That was an interesting chapter. Do you want me to talk to? Do you want me to
yes,
talk about?
please.
So I'm married to an actor too. My husband's an actor, Ken Lamb, and we did the Scarlet Pimpernel tour together. We did it on Broadway, and we also did the tour together. We had just gotten married. We had a car, and we had our cats in the car, and we just stayed on the tour until we had enough money. And after the LA production, we stayed in Los Angeles, and we were there for 7 years. They flew by, which is then full of also varied stories. And while I was there, I kind of reacquainted myself with my friend Richard J. Alexander, who I had directed my company of Les Mis when I did Les Mis in the 80s. But I was up at Sacramento Music Circus, and I was doing a little night music. I was playing Charlotte in a little night music, and my husband's cell phone rang. Because for many years, my husband and I shared a cell phone. It was in the early days of cell phone. And we thought, oh, well, we're always together. We'll just have one. How long is this fad going to happen? And it was Richard J. Alexander calling the old number that we used to have, which is now had become my husband's. And Ken said, "It's for you. It's Richard J." And I was like, so I answered it. I was getting ready to go do the show. And he said, "I have a job for you." And I said, "What?" He goes, "I want you to come spend a couple weeks with me with Barbra Streisand." And I was like, "Doing what?" And he said, "Well, we're mounting her concert and she hasn't sung in a few years. And so what we would like you to do is when she's tired of singing for the day, we'd like to still continue rehearsing and you'll just take over and be her. You may have to walk. You're going to set up she has a big sound stage at Sony. We're flying in the entire orchestra and we're going to have them for 3 weeks in Los Angeles. And so she might, want you to walk. She might want to see what the walk looks like if you come down the stairway with this, because she was co-directing it with him. And I was like, "Well, will I have to sing in front of Barbra Streisand?" And he said, "Yeah, probably." And I was like, well, I was getting ready to do Sister Act, is the truth. I was the star of Sister Act in all of the out-of-town productions, which is a whole nother story. And I was going to have a little bit of time off where I was going to come see my parents and just have a little chill time. My husband was down at the Globe doing a show and I was going to see him. I said no. Can you believe that? And Ken, I got off the phone and Ken said, "What was that?" And I told him, and he said, "I never tell you what to do. I never tell you what to do, but you have to say yes. She's your idol. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity. You have to call him back." So I called him back and he said, "I thought you'd call back." So anyway, they sent me, I never knew what I was going to do that day. I was basically her stand-in. I was like, "Well, surely Barbra Streisand isn't going to do the concert. The concert will be canceled, right?" He's like, yeah. But you just are there for moral support. She had also hired Il Divo, those four international opera singers, to sing somewhere evergreen in all of their languages and music of the night with her. So a lot of my time was spent with the Il Divo boys, getting them ready for Barbra Streisand because they had not learned her harmonies or quite knew the significance of what they had ahead of them. Anyway, the very first day I had to sing for Barbra Streisand. I was singing. They had put together carefully taught with Children Will Listen, and they wanted to hear the arrangement. So I was sight reading this music on stage with this spectacular, world-class musicians playing for me. It really was a heavenly job, but it was about as nervous as I've ever been. And in walks Barbra Streisand, and I'm sight reading this chart. And she's got her entourage. James Brolin's there, the dogs are there, the masseuse is there, And Richard looks at me and I'm singing and he's like, I didn't know she was coming. And we finish and she goes, "Ooh, pretty voice." And I was like, and she said, "Do I have to sing that note at the end? What's that note that you just sang in?" I was like, "Well, I was just reading the chart, but you could probably sing whatever note you want to because you're Barbra Streisand. Hi." And so then I spent the next few weeks with them, and whenever she was tired or didn't show up, I sang through all of Barbra Streisand's charts with a 80-piece orchestra. And unbeknownst to me, the sound people were recording absolutely everything. And when I left, the show was getting ready to open in New York, and I couldn't go because I was getting ready to start Sister Act. The sound guy came up to me and handed me a stack of CDs of me singing with Barbra Streisand's orchestra. It was really what led me to then do my CD. Because I was like, maybe I just go ahead and do this, I can. And it gave me confidence. It gave me confidence as a stylist and a singer. I always have sung in a very unique way. You either like how I sing or you don't. And that's how I sing. And I was kind of done at that point, especially at that age, of trying to kind of take what I felt is special about my voice out, just kind of like sound like everybody else. So it was really a confidence booster, but it was a very nerve-wracking job. And she had a music library and a music team that was just absolutely first rate. And they had all different keys of these songs. She was really experimenting with repertoire at that point, but I was, arm's length from her singing on stage with me, singing My Man, singing People. It was just an incredible experience. So that's
All
my
right.
Barbara story.
I must say something.
It's
So
amazing.
I know what your next tribute show should be, and I'll produce it. So I think everybody watching and listening and hearing that story would go tell all their friends. You'll never have to work again. And there you go.
Oh, that's great. Well,
Yes.
yeah. So, and I, when I was doing when I was thinking of what my show would be, I mean, everybody's assumed it would be Barbara, but Linda Ronstadt, the way, her high fluty head voice, her country, her rock, and then I mean, I got City of Angels because I was listening to the Linda Ronstadt, Nelson Riddle catalog at that point, and I sang a Linda Ronstadt tune for my City of Angels audition, and that was my first Broadway show. I had one audition and started rehearsal. So she really was a through line for me, and so is Barbara. I mean, I've been a Barbara Streisand fan my entire life, and then I got to work with her. So.
That's amazing. And I loved what you said about not wanting to, in essence, bend yourself into a pretzel to conform to other people's style of singing or whatever. I feel the same way. It's what feels like it's lacking somehow in today's big mega shows on Broadway is that you're expected to do it the way the recording sounds, exactly the way the person before did it, and it's counterintuitive to what it is that we do, the creative and individual sound that we bring to our work, whether it be as an actor or as a singer. And I pride myself when I think I don't sound like other people. So you got to stick to your guns, and I think it takes a little bit of maturity and having some mileage behind us, where we say, okay, this is who I am. It's not that we don't want to grow, but that we have to say this is the uniqueness that I bring. And
well, when I first started out, because I'm old. It was still, the repertoire was very different though too. Like but I was never an Adelaide. I was never a Miss Sarah. I could sing either. So because I had this very versatile voice that could do a little bit of everything, I was very conscious of trying to homogenize myself so that I could get a job.
Yeah.
And then, but really secretly down deep in my soul, all I really wanted to be was a pop singer. But that repertoire didn't exist. So I'm really thankful that I've had a long life career, because not only did I have the classical training, but I really was always just singing to the record player at home. And I think as the repertoire evolved, I got more confident that I could let my style sneak in, especially in an audition practice. I didn't want to scare everybody off, like, okay, ooh, that's too much. And also the singing has gotten so sophisticated now, and everybody's craving unique style, but it wasn't so much when we all first started out.
Yeah.
We were trying to be cookie cutters of whatever the role had been, however it had been sung before.
Yeah,
they wouldn't change the keys. They wouldn't, it was.
Yeah. Well, Rita, you had an opera background. You did roles in opera.
I have 3 degrees in opera, and I started out in Phantom of the Opera. And honestly, they were constantly, all the other Christines and I, we have a club, and we talk, and because there's so many of us, and we all felt like they were constantly trying to make us sing less and smaller, and I do remember one rehearsal, I was singing Wishing, and I marked it because they kept saying smaller, smaller, so I just marked, and they said that's it, and I was like, I'm marking, but they wanted it so tiny and little, the way Sarah Brightman sang it, and she's of her own very unique sound. I mean, to try to sound like that, it was really hard. And what was interesting is that was the tour. Then when I went ahead and did it on Broadway, it was great. They were like, sing out. What are you doing? Sing. And I was like, great. Oh, thank God. I can actually sing now, So it depends on, the music director and the director and who you're working with. But yes, I agree. There was a lot of, you got to sound and look and do exactly what the other person did, which is another reason regional theater is so great. they want to kind of make their own, do their own style and put their own stamp on the show. And it doesn't have to be what happened on Broadway, and you can really create your own version of it, which is so exciting.
Although there is a certain amount sometimes of constraint there too. I would say mostly because I direct and being hired as a director, if you have a connection to a certain show, sometimes the producers want you to recreate what was done originally and not put your own stamp on it because you've only got a week to put it up or something like that. And that can be frustrating too.
That's tough. Yeah. I can see that. Yeah. But coming from an opera background, that's a whole nother style of, it's got to sound a certain way. You've got to do it exactly this way or it's not right. And I found such freedom singing Broadway and pop where if you're honest and in the moment and singing from your heart, then that's fine. It doesn't have to sound exactly. But in opera, it's changing, but there was very much it has to sound exactly, and if it doesn't, there are people with a scorecard literally saying, her middle sounds this and her top sounds that, and that's why I love the music, but I'm done with opera.
But don't we agree that there's room for everything? I mean, we understand it. I mean, when we get in our discussions and go out for coffee, everybody has their big opinion. And trust me, we who work in the industry, no one has bigger opinions and aren't afraid to say it loud online and from the rooftops and fans. But the truth is, there's room for all of it. People should get to see what it was originally like because there should be a starting point to see it. And people should have the freedom to do it however the heck they want it and put their own interpretation. And it's not either or. It's everything. It should be always.
Yeah.
Well, and I know for me, when my voice changes according to the role that I'm playing. I remember a few years back doing a production of 1776 where I was playing John Adams, and the musical director knew me only through that show. And I don't know how it happened, but she heard a recording of me playing Don Quixote, and she said, "That's not you." And I said, "Yes, it is." I said, "But that character has a different sound." And also what really drives me crazy sometimes is that if an actor is playing a role, the minute they start to sing, the character disappears. The voice becomes their pop sound or whatever that is. And I don't want to mention any names, but I'm just not made that way. I can't do that. My John Adams had a almost nasal sound because he was abrasive and he was from Boston and all of this. So it was very different than my Cervantes. So I didn't think it was, but I guess it must have come out that way because the way I was approaching it was playing the character. So, I think sometimes if we have a voice, we're tempted to oversing sometimes in a musical theater role, and we don't want to do that. And before we go any further, I want to play that clip of Rita doing Fun Home, and so let's look a little bit at you in action, and I've got some other things we want to talk about soon too. So.
There was a time when I flew higher. Was a time the wild girl running free would be me. Now I see her feel the fire. Now I know she needs Nothing's real. Nothing's real. And I miss the mountains. I miss the lonely night. Wandering through the wilderness and spending all my time where the air is clear and hugs you like a knife. I miss the mountains. I miss the mountains. I miss my life. I miss my life.
You know, for all my musical theater expertise, I've been saying Fun Home, and it's of course next to normal. So, bravo, yes. And
Thank you.
so, yeah, so musical theater students out there who are studying opera, yes, that's how it's done, even when you come from an opera background. So,
That
it
was
can
a
be done.
breakthrough for me. That was, I mean, a huge breakthrough. I left to do that role and it felt like I came back somebody else because I knew acting wise that I was capable, although the role terrified me because I had we have a 7-year-old son at the time. And it just, to play a mother who's lost a son, who's losing her mind, it was terrifying. But I also knew it was too good a role to give up. And also to be able to do it vocally, I was like, oh my God, how do I do this? And to be able to find that and to find it from a purely acting, you know, it didn't have to be this rock concert. It could be just, we're doing this play with music, and it was an intimate setting and a very nurturing director. And it was just, oh my God, it changed me from the inside out. It was just heaven, you know, as painful as that show is, it was theater heaven, you know, to explore that in every way. It
Great.
was amazing.
Great.
Thank
Well,
you.
I also want to play a clip before we get to our intermission section here that we have of Liz in a very different type of music. And this was something that you'll have to tell us how you did this, but it looks like in your own home, maybe you did this recording, but it's beautiful. And we want to share a little bit of your artistry.
Where have you gone, my darling one? Are you on your own? Are you having fun? Is there someone to hold when you need it bad? Is it uncontrolled like the love we had? Does a day go by like a memory? Do you ever try to remember me in an automobile or a crowded bar? Well, I hope you're alright wherever you are. And if you're still within the sound of my voice over some radio, I just want you to know you are always my only choice. And wherever you go, that I still love so. If you're still within the sound of my voice. the dead of night, do you hear me call? Something's not quite right, no one's there at all. Did you make a mistake? Was it in your head? Was it really me talking to your heart instead? If you're still within sound of my voice, why don't you let me know? I just can't let you go, 'cause it's always made me rejoice. Just to have you so near, there's a place for you here. If you're still within the sound of my voice, I am calling like the echo of a passing train that cries one last time before it fades into the distant hills and dies. I am sending out a message like a ship out on the sea in distress, but only you can send the lifeline out to me. Are you still within the sound of my voice? Why don't you let me know? I just can't let you go. If it's wrong, then I have no choice but to love you until I no longer have a will. If you're still within the sound of my voice, still within the sound of my voice, still within the sound of my voice. I am calling like the echo of a passing train that cries one last time before it fades into the distant hills and
Bravo, brilliantly done.
Yeah.
We didn't include the credits there because we have a limit as to the length of a video that we can show in this
It's a
format.
long song.
But I see you had a lot of assistance on that one. So
Well, so the name of my Linda Ronstadt show is called Still Within the Sound of My Voice.
So, and you created this video during the pandemic?
Pandemic. So this was my pandemic, you know, when the pandemic hit and it's just going to be a few months, you know, end of April, you know, Labor Day or Memorial Day. We're like, yeah, right. So I decided that I would do, you know, people started to do these pandemic videos and everybody was learning how to do this programming and stuff. And so I thought, okay, let's see if my group will want to do this. Because I thought just kind of keep this show out there because I had such a great response to it and I was so grateful for that. So yeah, so we just decided to do it and I filmed all, you know, I sang the vocals in my closet and then recorded the video and then sent it to my friends. And I have a great music director, Andrew David Sotomayor, and he did all of the mixing and learned how to do the video too because he had wanted to. And then subsequently, because of the video, because it was nominated for like best pandemic video on Broadway World and stuff. I know, crazy. Who knew that there was such a category? Best pandemic video. He got like more work doing that. So it's all been a great thing. And I felt like the emotion of the song, the sentiment of the song was kind of perfect to how we were feeling. Like, you know, are you out there? We're also here, you know. We'll make it together eventually. So that's my team. So that's all the people from my show.
Well, it was terrific. And
thank you.
You know, as Neil, you're not only a writer, but you are a performer too. So you 50 years of rock and roll, 100 years of Broadway are two of your big shows. I guess rock and roll has to catch up a little bit there. But you know, I feel like we may have to do 2 years of Beyond the Green Room after this. But no, it must be frustrating to you as well. But at least you can write. Well,
yeah, I mean,
in
like I
lockdown.
said, we've been blessed. You know, even the 100 years of Broadway. You know, we've done it every performing arts center, and you know, from Lincoln Center to every performing arts center. You know, for the last 15, 20 years, it's been magical. Like we knew when we first started doing it would be a hit. We were told it was a hit, and I said, "Oh, great! How many years?" They said 3. I said, "Oh my God, 3 18 That was 18 years ago." And then we had to create new content, and so I'm, you know, obviously I come from a rock and roll background as well, and I'm passionate about that. So I've been able to tell the story of rock and roll using some incredible rock and roll and Broadway rock and roll singers. But when this all happened, we, you know, we do about 100 shows a year on tour, on national tour, and you know, all the, like I said, all the performing arts centers that, you know, from the biggest to the small, and of course it was all wiped out. And you don't, I want to feel sorry for myself, for ourselves. I mean, it sucks, and no one wants it, but we're all in it together. And so you find ways to turn it into positives, like Liz did with that great video. And I think we all have a responsibility to try and find a way to, you know, with all the chaos and, you know, what's going on around us, to find the positives. So, you know, I got in shape. I've been the best shape I've been in since I was playing baseball in college.
Lost 50 pounds.
Yeah, I saw that on Facebook. I should ask for a full length shot here to see your beautiful physique. You've
Oh, you know,
you're half the man you used to be. So
so, but what I'm saying is, you know, it's awful for all of us. So how can we find, you know, I'm fortunate because I have such an incredible support system, and there's people who don't have that, and I recognize that. So it's, you know, how can we find it? Who's our support systems for each other to get us through this? And there's the positive of it. So if we can find some, we all know the bad. We've all, you know, we do. We're living it. We've lost people and all of that. So, but conversely, how can we rise up and bring ourselves up from it? And so, yes. So thank God, you know, the tours may not be here, but they'll come back. I'm positive. And people will be ready for it and want it more. And, you know, but we have a lot of people working. I probably employ about, you know, 40 great Broadway professional singers and actors on my tours every year, you know, and it's their living too. So it's something that we, you know, that I understand. And so it's not just me, it's all of us, but we'll get there.
well, we're also learning this technology. I mean, the fact that Liz, you made the earphones a fashion statement in that video. I mean, we all know what's going on. I mean, but
Oh my God, the self-taping. You know, I do a lot of TV too, so, and it's all the self-taping, and it's just like we've had to like set up a studio, and we got the teleprompter, and it's just like, ay ay ay.
But you know, that was daunting before, when we were asked to do it, and we said, oh, wouldn't it be nice if we could just go in and read and have a back and forth with the director and read with another actor. But now we're not as afraid of it because we have to do it. And
we will never be going back into the room, let me tell you, especially for first round. Especially for the TV stuff. The TV stuff will be, TV and commercial will be like this forever.
Yeah.
I kind of like, I had a commercial audition last week, and I was like, well, I kind of don't mind having to not take the train from Maplewood, because we live in New Jersey, and to go say, hi, I'm Elizabeth Ward Land, show your hands. Thank you.
Yeah.
You know, and so.
I don't want to take the subway from 116th Street.
So like, that's okay. Also tape that one. That one's easy.
Well, we're actually, Neil, I want to talk about some of the work you've been, some of the shows that you've written over the years. We have an intermission feature that is going to play a song from one of them. But before we go to the intermission, I always ask a quiz question. And this one's a little out of left field. But the other day I was flipping through channels as we all do. And before an episode of That Girl came on, there was an episode of Hazel. And it reminded me that Shirley Booth, who starred in Hazel, also starred in a bunch of Broadway musicals. And most people don't know what they are. So the quiz question is, can you name the 5 Broadway musicals that Shirley Booth starred in? So if you guys know, hold on to it until after the intermission. But we're going to break for the intermission and hear a song from the demo of Grumpy Old Men, a show that Neil has written. It's gotten a lot of play over the country. Had a list of illustrious stars who have done the roles over the years. And the grumpier and older I get, the more I hope I'll be able to participate one day. And but let's listen to this very sweet and I guess something that we can all identify with right now, certainly as men. This song from your demo of Grumpy Old Men, and then we'll talk about it after you come back, and we'll answer the quiz question. But the rest of you, if you want to take this break to refresh your drink or do whatever, but let's listen to this song from Grumpy Old Men, written by Neil Berg.
One day you wake up and climb out of bed. Your bones say you're not 81 anymore. But if one little muscle, that heat-seeking missile, let you know you're not dead, then the balls of your feet hit the floor. The wood that you feel's not the door. Start your day and find a way to score. Life is all about living, but it's ticking away so damn fast. Don't live through your memories, throw away your watch, and listen to your crotch. Life is all about living. Make sure that each day's a blast, 'cause tomorrow, what you did today becomes your friggin' past. Sex is just entertainment, and the planet's a female buffet. So fill up your bucket, wings and thighs are best, or have a piece of breast. Love's a serious matter. Sex is a game you play. It's time for folly and not debate. You'll talk your days away. Don't think about sex and loving as if somehow they relate. When you buy that bull, then your trouble starts. What goes in your head screws up your body parts. Life is all about living. Action doesn't need words. All you got is today. So have some fun. As long as there's still ammunition in your gun. You don't have to love her to love her, son. Why do you make everything so damn difficult?
All right, Neil. So, why does that hit home now about life? I think we can all identify with that right now, and a little laugh, a little amusement right now is greatly appreciated. You've been. That voice sounds very familiar. Who is that?
All right, so that was the initial demo, and that song is still in the show, and it's been reworked, and some of the lyrics have been changed. But I'm very blessed. That is the great, legendary Peter Palmer, the original Little Abner, who did that for me. He's a dear, dear friend. He's still alive in his 90s, living
Wow.
out in the Midwest. Now I need to actually give him a call. I just ran into a good friend of his, and that brought such a joy to me to listen to Peter singing that. That was a while ago. We did that demo. My gosh, because we had an earlier incarnation of the show that ended up going to Canada first, and then there was a hiatus before we resurrected the show and then got it to where it is now. And then Peter Palmer did that, and then of course we were blessed to recently in the both productions, the Algonquin production, and then in La Mirada with Kathy Rigby, we had Hal Linden playing that role of the grandfather, the Burgess Meredith role, and Hal gave a master class every night. It's still, and he was in his late 80s. He's still around too, and
Yeah. Well,
so,
the Rothschilds I did with him.
that's right.
He's like, I remember years later doing a concert with him at Lincoln Center, and I said, boy, that's who I want to be when I grow up. And to see him still at it, and
still all wonderful and new and fresh to him. He still loves what he's doing. There's, he's not old and jaded in any way. He's just a delight.
Talk about professional and cares and not caught up in himself, and just it's about the work and only about the work and how can we make it better. And it's great to see somebody who's not only been around that long and had that kind of success, but he'll tell you. I mean, he's become a dear friend, and it's great. It's not the stories and the legends that we talk about. It's about the work. It's about him being a musician, a clarinetist, and the Catskills, and learning his trade. From a musician first. He never was an actor. He was a musician first. A real musician.
And he was everybody's understudy for the longest time.
Correct. And then
really broke him out to be his own man. Yeah.
I find that it's a lot like I'm right. I don't want to jump the gun here and talk about the show I'm writing now, the 12. But I wrote it with Robert Schenken, and who did All the Way, and had Bryan Cranston, who we all know, Bryan Cranston, Breaking Bad, starring. And I liken it a little to Bryan Cranston. When Bryan Cranston got his success, he wasn't a kid. He was a character actor who had done the work, been in the trenches. So when you go to a party with Bryan Cranston, you're hanging out. Trust me, he's just one of the guys. He understands, what it's like. Not, he wasn't a star from early days and has to put on anything. He'd rather just be BSing with everybody in the background. It's you learn a lot from guys like that, the people who really earned it and were in the background for a while. And Hal Linden certainly was that.
It's wonderful to hear those stories. That's what we all aspire to be, and we learn from each other. We keep growing, and that's what's coming to come out of this pandemic. And theater is gonna inspire people again. And one of the things, listening to that song, you talk about yourself as a rock and roll musician, but your scores are so varied, and they there's a timelessness to your musical theater work, which I think is really important. Some shows don't date very well, and that's not a criticism, but you could do that show, any time. And
I'm kind of happy that one of my quote unquote rock shows, which is coming up, I have a quote unquote rock and roll show coming up, but I'm a writer, and I fancy myself as somebody who, my father, all he listened to was jazz and classical, and I trained in everything. When I say I'm a rock and roller, when I was in high school, I played in rock bands, but I did a jazz band, and I played classical, and I studied, so I understand in our business, the hardest thing is you get pigeonholed. Rita was pigeonholed. She was a Christine, and you can only sing classical. And I'm sure Liz had to deal with that. And what you do is, as a writer, you inhabit the characters, and then you come out organically from their point of view, and hopefully you've done your work and you have the toolkit and what you can draw on. And writing Grumpy Old Men was always going to be a joy because I kind of harken back to my father, who was a very nice grumpy old man at one point, and just kind of relive, and go into that music I love so much. And of course, Prince and the Pauper was totally different and more epic, score with a little British background to it, and trying to draw from some of that and keep it universal. And then the musical I'm writing now. I keep alluding to it. Should I talk about it?
Yeah, you know what? Before we do, because I want to answer the quiz question, because this is where I go off the rails, and this is my little moment to give a little musical theater trivia. And so do any of you guys have any ideas of what the answers might be to the musicals that Shirley Booth starred in?
I have a guess.
Okay.
But I'm not sure. This is not. I don't know this. It just seemed to me if she was around during that era. But did she play Hildy?
No. She would have been a good Hildy. Yeah. And oddly enough, looking at her work in films and in plays, a lot of the movies and plays that she did were adapted into musicals, but she didn't play those. The first one I'm thinking of is a show called Hollywood Pinafore, which was a take on HMS Pinafore, and she played a character. I have to look at this, called Luhetta Hobsons, which I might amuse Liz a little bit because you played Luella Parsons on Broadway, but that was one of them. She starred in A Tree Grows in Brooklyn.
Yeah, Tree Grows. That's the one. That's the one I was going to say next.
Right, and then after that, she did a follow-up by the same writers called By the Beautiful Sea that didn't run quite as long, and she did a one of those beautiful legendary flops called Juno. That was Mark Littstein. Yes, a 2-week flop based on
I Wish It So.
That's right. That's it. That's it. Yeah, and the one she did last was in 1970. She did a musical adaptation of Lilies of the Field. It was actually on TCM last night.
I saw it.
And it was called Look to the Lilies. And it was written by Julie Stein and Sammy Kahn. And it was never given a cast album. And the funny thing is it only ran, I think, 2 or 3 weeks. It was conceived as a project for Ethel Merman. If you can imagine Ethel Merman playing a nun, I guess it would have been a little payback at Mary Martin winning the Tony for The Sound of Music over her for Gypsy. She apparently famously said, "Well, you can't buck a nun," but I think maybe she used a different word instead of buck. But she never ended up doing it. She turned it down and went back into Hello, Dolly instead. And her co-star, the dream casting would have been Sammy Davis Jr., but he was priced out of this, and Al Freeman Jr. did it, and it only lasted 3 weeks. But 5 Broadway musicals for Shirley Booth. So that's really obscure. I don't know if we got any of our audience answered any of those. If they didn't, it would be the first time, because we have a couple of uber fans who get them every week. Every time I think I'm going to stump people, they get them. But anyway, I want to get back to what are the shows you're working on now? You said you were working on something new.
Yeah, I'm kind of very excited because it's I don't know how public it is, but the big show, I guess the big show. I mean, I was very happy with Grumpy Old Men, which has been running, and a couple of productions were stopped during the pandemic. But I'm very happy to say that I wrote a musical with just an incredible writer. I mean, like I said, people know him. He wrote Playwright, Kentucky Cycle. He won the Pulitzer for that. Is Robert Schenken all the way. And we wrote a musical called The 12, which premiered at the Denver Center in 2015 and won the Henry Award and got a lot of attention. But it just shows you how long it takes to get something to New York. And the idea was to bring it to New York, and we had to come back and do the do. And very happy to report that we've been working, and the director is going to be great director John Doyle from Color Purple and Company and Sweeney Todd. And we did some kind of secretive workshops of it, before the pandemic. And now we've been working during the pandemic about rolling it out, and probably go to a regional that's in the decision before we bring it in. And being produced by Cody Lassen, who How I Learned to Drive was his show he was bringing to New York, and he did Spring Awakening, the deaf version on Broadway. So we're very excited to bring, and that's really was my homage to rock and roll. I remember when I saw Rent, and obviously Rent is Rent, and being a rock and roll guy, I said, I need to do something that I'm passionate about. And of course, with John Doyle, it's going to be a totally different thing, in the great John Doyle tradition, deconstructed and the way he does things. And I just, all I can tell you is very few people were in the workshop room to see it happen, and just to see him do his work on this piece. I just can't wait. I've been biting my tongue for a long time. I can't wait for people to see this, and however long it takes. We've been waiting this long. So the 12.
Okay. I thought that was the amount of pounds you lost, but no.
And I'll also say, writing musicals, we're in this world. Isn't it wild? Grumpy Old Men, of course, you had a chance to get done. And why did it have a chance to get done quicker than the rest? We all know the reason, because it came from a famous title from a movie. That's the way the world goes. Look, I can't complain about that. I'm thrilled. I'm happy. I understand. I was approached to do it. I did it. I loved it. Every second of it. The people I work with, Nick Meglin and Dan Remis, who are my collaborators. But, being a purist, a theater purist, you'd love to see, original products. And that's why when you see something like Hadestown or whatever, come on and get done, we're thrilled from a community standpoint to see something original. But like I said, I guess there's going to be room for either or. People, it's not either or. It should be inclusive. And, it's tough as a producer. Well, I won't get into the soapbox, but we understand it's difficult to do a non-titled show with the risks. But you wish there were more.
We're talking about really appreciating the regions that these shows that you are writing get produced. Just because we don't see them in a big Broadway production doesn't mean they are not getting seen by audiences across the country. And, in fact, we do have a little behind the scenes clip of one of the previous productions of Grumpy Old Men, which we got queued up. So we want to give you equal time here after watching the ladies' work. So we did hear audio of your work, but here's a little video with my friend Bill Castellino directing and producing it
in Canada. Yeah.
Grumpy Old Men is that wonderful show that reminds us that there are always surprises ahead of us too, as long as we stay open to them. And in this case, they sing at you because it's a musical.
His life has sort of faded out. He doesn't have a life that he enjoys because right outside his door lives his neighbor, and they have a long-standing feud that goes quite deep.
Max is in many ways two very different people. He's one way when it deals with Gustafson, but when it comes to the townspeople, he's affable, he's lovable, and he's beloved.
We are incredibly lucky to have Susan Anton, who is not only beautiful, but a spectacular singer and just brings the right chemistry to the whole proceedings.
She comes to this little town, and she's a very well-traveled girl. She's been all over the world, we come to find out. And she inherits this house in a will. And she's not prepared for these people that aren't just welcoming her with open arms.
My character's involvement, he really is someone who basically is just nice to everybody. And with Ariel in the story, he's the first person that befriends her because he doesn't have any reason not to. He just accepts that she's there, and this is a lovely lady who's come to town, and he just opens the door, so to speak, and experiences her and becomes the first person who really knows her, and vice versa.
I had no idea that they were making it into a musical. I knew the movie well, as I'm sure everybody does. Loved it, revisited it recently after I found out about this, loved it all over again.
The first time a work is ever done will always resonate in all future productions. You forever have your fingerprints on a project once you're the first ones to do it. The most important thing about Grumpy Old Men is that it's about us old people. And I think it's very exciting to come see a show that really focuses on people 50 and above and how they are finding new and exciting reasons to stay alive and be vital and be in their lives. I think the big takeaway we want from the audience is that life is not over. Don't let it get over just because you hit a certain number on your birthday.
Well, I'll let you know. When I hit 50, I'll let you know. No, that it just brings up also, look at the illustrious cast you had there. And I know you mentioned Peter Palmer, Hal Linden, Sally Struthers was involved, Mark Jacoby, Ed Dixon, all these fabulous roster of musical theater talent.
That's so great. I love all those people. I love them dearly. Ken Page was all of them. John Shuck, both Johns, all of them. I'll never forget the first reading of it, so people can understand how long the process was. When we went out to LA, we had to do it for Warner Brothers. We had to do a reading, and imagine stepping into the room, and the two people playing the roles of the Grumpies. Ready for this? It was George Hearn and Len Cariou. The Sweeneys. Yeah, the Sweeneys with Garrett Morris playing one of the roles, and and Rita, you were in that. But who was Ariel in that one? Was it Mary Lou Henner? Mary Lou Henner.
Mary Lou was here. No, it was
we had Christopher Lloyd,
Barbeau.
Adrian Barbeau. So it was one of those stories and shows that attracted, and hopefully now that now that it's going to be and starting to be done all over, and in every, hopefully the idea was it was just on its way to being done everywhere and becoming a regional, one of those shows that is going to be in every regional theater. Hopefully it'll give opportunity for so many great actors. And just so you hear, while I love all those named celebrities, I'll tell you that when we did I guess you could say the final workshop, the final reading, where we had to, when we retooled it after that Manitoba production that Bill Castellino directed, we brought it in. I had my buddy Nick Corley direct a reading, and we had to show it to a couple of theaters to find out which. In MTI was, the Musical Theater International was, going to license it. I dove in and I said, listen, for this one, no celebrities. Let's just get I want to get some people who I really envisioned in my the great theater actors, the Liz Wards, the people who are who
she'd be a good Ariel.
You'd be a fantastic Ariel. But I remember, and who did we ended up having Lee Wolkoff as one of the Grumpies, Luba Mason as Ariel, John Hilliard. So there's room for everybody. I can't wait for people to get a chance, to have roles to look forward to, fun roles about love and living as you get older, as we all. We
love that. We are not giving up. We are looking to the future. So that's.
I can't wait for you to. Maybe you can direct a version of it too somewhere.
You mentioned Nick. He was on our show a couple of weeks ago, and one of the clips that we showed of his work was Tim and Scrooge, that Rita, you performed in, and it was one of the few years at Westchester Broadway Theater that I was not in the Christmas show. It got to be a joke there that I played Scrooge in every possible incarnation. We did a country western version one year. We did a Sleepy Hollow version. I can't tell you how many. But that was one year that I missed. I wasn't even aware that the show, I must have been working somewhere else. How dare I? But it had a big cast there, and Rita was among them, and Nick.
And what a great place! And I wrote that with the same person who wrote the lyrics for Grumpy, Nick Meglin, who was the editor of Mad Magazine for about 40 years, and the staff. And you can imagine Nick Corley did a great job with that. And talk about how sad we are that there's no longer a Westchester Broadway.
Yeah.
So that's another place, a great place to try out a show. I'm very grateful to Bob and Bill who ran that theater. So
well, I was actually gobsmacked because they hadn't done an original musical in decades out there. They had done one based on Sayonara many years ago that apparently was very good, but it didn't make any money for them, and they were a little gun shy. So the show that you did must have impressed, and I'm sure it did well. The Christmas shows always did well there. So.
It was a sweet show. But I'll say one more thing, and then I'll let the women talk a lot more. I will tell you that I think my favorite score I've ever written, though, one of my favorite shows. Which is impossible to get produced. So if there's anybody, I've been fortunate, right? I've had many shows produced on the national level at great theaters, but one of my favorites, if not my favorite, was the one that Liz did, which is The Man Who Would Be King, that I wrote with DJ Salisbury. And people are a little gun shy, scared about that piece a little bit, and I don't get it. I think it's perfect, for a great cautionary tale. Based on the Rudyard Kipling novella and the great movie, and Liz was talking about earlier. I'd love that. I wish someday. So as we always long for more. Maybe one day we'll get a chance to do that. And Liz, you'd still be great in that piece. Boy, you would still knock that one out of it.
Well, I just remember that the music stuck with me. I loved the music had a sophistication to it, and those two spectacular parts for men. And I love the movie. I love the story too. But I was very taken with it. I remember it stuck with me.
And a very different style that I got to write in because of the story.
And classic. It's almost an opera. It's just sweeping.
Yeah, and as we were talking about before, you had an opera singer do one of the demos too, David Pitzinger, who I got to direct in South Pacific and in Man of La Mancha at Ivoryton a couple of years ago, and he was raving about the music as well. So,
well, there you go. You can go back to Ivoryton and you can do you can direct the Man of the King with David and Liz. And there you go.
I'd love to. So that's what we're doing here. We're keeping the ghost light burning, as it were, on Beyond the Green Room, and it's thanks to guests like you and who generously share your time and talk about your talent and your efforts. And so you're working on these things now, hoping to get them produced. And the one that you mentioned, 12, sounds very exciting. Well, ladies, Liz, you did a video at home.
I've done a lot of them. A lot of the theaters have asked to do them. I don't really have anything lined up. I am going to teach this semester at AMDA, so I start March 8th. I'm going to teach a approach to a song, so that'd be nice. And that's a whole nother side of me. I'm going to be here with my mom for a bit, it looks like. Yeah, I know. Thanks. And I don't know. I'm hopeful as the theaters. I do still do, as I said, some TV stuff. So hopefully some of that. I've gotten quite used to being home, which is weird. I think we were all not used to it, and now I'm kind of used to it. I mean, when I was in the airport, I was just like, oh my God, I haven't been around this many people. It was very overwhelming to me because
Yeah.
I've been basically home. We just haven't done, I've had the luxury to stay home, and so we haven't done it. But there's always going to be something around the corner, you know.
And there's always something that you just don't know about. And I always say, what was I doing last year this time? And what came up that I never would have imagined? And even this year, there were things that I did. So I recorded an aria for a friend of mine who wrote an opera. I did do a play virtually, and many things. So I know when I ask my guests this question, I say, "What are you doing now?" Terror comes over their faces, and then they say, "Well, actually, I am doing this and I am doing that," and so we don't know what's around the corner. But Rita, is there something you want to share that you've been up?
Well, yeah, I did record an album this fall with a friend of mine. We recorded an album called Simple Prayers for Challenging Times, and it's prayers from all across different faiths. And we wanted to make it kind of meditative and kind of prayerful for people to literally get some comfort, from. And it started out with, he had a neat idea to do This Little Light of Mine over. If you go on NASA's website, you can actually hear the vibration of the sun, and it actually has a tone. It's a G sharp. And he said, wouldn't that be neat to have that be kind of the pedal tone underneath and sing This Little Light of Mine over the top? And then more ideas started flowing, and he actually is a composer too. This friend of mine, his name's Peter Danish, and he'd written a few other prayers. And then the ideas started flowing. He took a couple of Rumi poems. We did the Shalom Aleichem from the Jewish Sabbath, and just different prayers from all around. And then, we went in the studio, just the two of us, and recorded them. And, he and his friend mixed it, and it turned out to be really well received. I think it was just the timing was right. People needed something, that was very meditative and prayerful, and so we're actually gathering songs to do a part 2. We have about
wonderful.
Yeah, okay. And then we got to do a show.
And also, yes, and so we're looking to do another one. I'm also teaching. I'm gathering more students. It was hard. I lost quite a few students. I do teach voice lessons. I lost quite a few early on, but they're starting to come back now. And FaceTime seems to work. I don't do it live, but FaceTime seems to work. So I'm teaching a lot of voice lessons. We also recorded a song that Neil wrote this fall, which also had to do with what we're all going through, called "I Choose the Light," and we released that. And it's a Neil Berg, gorgeous, uplifting power ballad that he's so good at. So, and I was thrilled to get that out there for people to hear. So, that's on our Facebook page and CD Baby and all the different platforms. It's all out there. So it's called "I Choose the Light." And
Terrific.
yeah,
Terrific.
we're doing what we can.
Yeah, we all are, right? And this is not so bad. I feel like I've had 90 minutes with some wonderful friends, and we all have a good outlook for the future. So I want to thank you again for joining us, and remind our viewers that you can see us not only on Facebook, but also on YouTube. All of our episodes, 27, 28. What did I say before? I don't remember. I've lost track.
28.
But yeah, they're all there. And I would like to invite any theater professionals who would like to spend 90 minutes with us on Beyond the Green Room to contact me at beyondthegreenroom@gmail.com. Please donate to the Actors Fund. It helps everybody in the arts get through these difficult times. And our guests for next week are Ezekiel Andrew, Tamar Green, and Lindsay Roberts. I'm looking forward to that. I haven't seen them in a long time, just like as I haven't seen you guys in a long time. But, Rita, maybe we'll be at a Christmas party again this year.
I hope so. I hope so.
Well, stay well, all of you. And we have a little bit of playoff music today that you will also recognize. It's part of that lush score from Prince and the Pauper. It's the song that I had the privilege to sing. I didn't record it, but it's from the original demo. Alex Santriello singing Twilight.
Wow.
So it will send you off on a cloud, and I will see you all next week.
Thank you, David. Good to see you.
Bye, Liz. It's so good seeing you, David. Love you, buddy. I'll speak to you whenever.
Love
Good to see
you.
you too.
Twilight, he remembers sunlit smiling. Twilight, he remembers laughter. Orange skies fill their eyes. They're forever in twilight intertwined.